Alright, I'm gonna mute myself. It's not you.
Okay. Well, hello and welcome to the first game, the first series of the TING EU Qualifier #1. The top two of today will be getting out. In the first match, in the top left as the yellow Terran, it is Beastyqt. Woohoo! Yahoo! In the bottom right as the red Zerg, it is ECV's Crowbar. So, obviously, and I already said this, right, that I chose this map, or this match, because, well, I assume that BaseTradeTV is gonna win, but that might actually not, be like 100%, right? It's actually a ton of pretty good, European pros, specifically. Everywhere, NA and Curia, but I feel like Europe has a lot of these pros that are just like, they're just almost there, right? They're just almost beating all of these, like, more well-known players, or they are beating the more well-known players, and actually getting increased in skill, and getting to those round of 8 and semifinals and whatnot. So it's not, 100% foolproof that it'll be Beastyqt versus a laser. I don't know how quickly you want to jump into a ZvZ if it's not. If Crowbar actually does win, no offense to him, more offense to, I guess, his race and matchup. But we'll figure that out after. And of course, that's also dependent, I suppose, if Rifkin's feeling better. But oh well. So Frozen Temple is the first map. This was, I guess, the preferred first map for both of them, as they did re-veto, because I guess they didn't realize Coral was not in the map pool, which I don't know how they did it, because with 8 vetoes, wouldn't the veto process be different? But whatever. Or 8 maps to veto, rather. I don't know, but now they've got rid of King Sejong, which is really in the map pool, and I believe it's like Dusk and Ruins. Yeah, so actually, like, one of the most standard map pools, as King Sejong, I think, would be standard, quote-unquote, in other matchups, but in TvZ, this is the one specifically where we thought there might be problems, and I certainly imagine that Crowbar realized that and was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't want King Sejong. So, oh well. But Beastyqt, of course, we love watching him. He doesn't necessarily make it through all of the qualifiers or win all of the online tournaments, really, but he does usually get pretty far and provides a lot of really interesting games. And I'm actually looking forward to this, especially if it gets to the late game on Dusk Towers, or even Ruins. Ruins, despite being what is kind of a small map because you're both on the lower half, lower portion of the map, still creates a lot of, like, long, interesting games. Oh well. So this Reaper is doing its job here. It's not really much to scout. This is just the normal Zerg opener, but of course it's more interesting to see what Beastyqt is doing. He's got a starport on the way. Still nothing on that factory, so okay, there is the Widowmine. A Widowmine drop into potentially a tank. Probably, in fact. Still pretty standard, safe way to play Terran. And certainly it's safe, but also can provide a little bit of aggression, as Frozen Temple is not the biggest map. It actually has a pretty short distance from, ramp to ramp, more specifically. Oh, they're the biggest way. But ramp to ramp, and then, of course, there's these rocks to abuse as well. That can actually be very important and part of the Terran's plan, like a key plan to abuse those rocks somehow. So this Reaper is still, okay, finally dies to a freaking Queen. Did scout the intention of a drone to take a third base, so that's still pretty important. And everything is going pretty much swimmingly for Beastyqt, who can feel pretty safe. Not necessarily moving out with Marines, although he's going to anyway, but rather, he doesn't have to really get the wall up in such a hurry, as long as he has any amount of units. His Widowmine doesn't stay at home, like that type of stuff. So he will go and find the Overlord, and that's actually a really nice snipe. I'm not sure if the Overlord got a scout in that Widowmine as it walked over to the Marines. And actually, there's been no scouting whatsoever from Crowbar. Except just now, he sees the 3rd CC, that's nice. He might know the intention, though, to see those Marines walk forward like that. So there's not much. It's just a common opener as well. There's not much else we can do. We do have Crowbar going for a Mutilating Bling with Ling upgrades and a Baneling Nest on the way. Unfortunately, this drop not really meant to kill a 3rd base. If it does, then Crowbar definitely messed up. Gets an Overlord. Will maybe take out a couple of the Lings and maybe be able to pounce on the Queen. I think that Crowbar was trying to get the Marines to get that splash damage. Almost worked out pretty well. Gets the medevac a little bit. There are the Queens. They got to focus fire the medevac. No Overseer yet, as the lair has only just started. So gotta wait for a Spore Crawler, and that Widowmine could be actually pretty pesky. It can't one-shot a Queen, but if the Queen's got any damage on them, then that could be a potential. This is actually the tank drop, but the tank's inside for once, not actually showing itself. Sieged up, so this is suddenly turning into a bit more than just like, you know, a little bit of harassment. This is something that can kill a hatchery, and I think ideally would kill a hatchery if the Zerg again is messed up, if they didn't expect any further aggression, if they saw a third CC, saw a Wood of Mine drop and said, okay, I guess I can drone a lot, you know? Which might be a huge mistake. But Lings are now on the way. The medevac does get taken out, so there's a queen, or I thought he was flying, Jesus. And it looks like this is going to be cleaned up. I mean, not the cleanest way to do it. So it did lose quite a lot of Lings in doing so, but took out a medevac and might, if you got the second medevac and the tank, that would totally be great for Crowbar. Beastyqt, though, looks like he will be able to save it, as the queens are, oh, they're pretty damn slow off of creep. And looked at the Wood of Mine also was cleaned up. So I guess there's a Liberator coming in from behind now. Beastyqt just piling on the pressure while expanding and getting his barracks up, of course, getting his production up, getting his upgrades as well, which are going to be behind that of Crowbar, because Crowbar started them pretty early, you know? Like, this is a macro build. It's something you get the third hatchery. Oh, one over here. You get the third hatchery, and then you get those upgrades, and you know, you sacrifice potentially the ability to deal with the drops or Liberators very easily by having such, you know, late mutas, but you should have plenty of enough Lings, you know, the queens hopefully do a good enough job, and you should have a pretty nice economy and pretty nice upgrades, of course, more importantly, although 2-2 isn't starting and Beastyqt is catching up. But the delay of the Spire isn't only defensive, it is also at the cost of, you know, any early offense. So, I mean, if you get like a 2-base Spire, of course, or if you can get a 3-base Spire, but before upgrades, and, you know, even before Bailing Nest sometimes, if the Zerg's really being greedy, you can hit the Terran before they really even want to make missile turrets, before they have enough Marines to spread out everywhere and have no problem dealing with 10 mutas, or even before they have Liberators. You know, Liberators can be expensive. But once Beastyqt sees that it is a Spire, and he actually scans to confirm, he's seen nothing but Lings, you know, up until now, and that sometimes, you know, sometimes it is just Lings, and sometimes it's because they're hiding something sneakier behind it. He should, I mean, he can choose. He can go for missile turrets, of course, the first line of defense for the Terran, but he can also add on Liberators. I mean, basically, he's fine with Marines to deal against 10 and even more. Actually, it's only one. One Mutalisk. But if it was like 10 Mutalisk, that's still fine. But Liberators just make it so much easier. Like, they can go back home while your army still pushes, where if mutas start to snowball, your army really has to come back, and that in itself is worth the mutas diving in the, you know, main base and whatnot. But with only one muta, finally, there we go, 7 more mutas on the way. That wasn't really a fear, and this is just further delaying any aggression for Crowbar. It's really just been about him on this side of the map, which isn't necessarily that bad. He's doing fine for the situation. His creep spread's really starting to get out there after the initial aggression. He's got this 4th base up, obviously, and he finally has a good number of drones, but I think with that aggression that Beastyqt did, it might have been cleaned up, but like I mentioned, it was, you know, the price of a lot of Lings, which means that it was also the price of a lot of drones. So his economy actually hasn't been the best for the longest, basically, right? It's actually been Beastyqt kind of powering up, and we do have graphs, which I can see, I suppose, but Beastyqt has been winning the income war this entire time. So, it's that little bit of aggression that it is totally worth it, as long as it doesn't get absolutely swamped for the Terran, if it can actually, you know, make the Zerg falter in their macro game. And I certainly think Crowbar has. Now, he's got a decent enough force here, and once again, he has those upgrades, but they were delayed a little bit. You know, the 2-2 started a little bit late, so Beastyqt is really caught up. He's 30 seconds away from his own 2-2 upgrades, and more importantly, is a very defensive setup here. Like, this has been building since his initial aggression, the tank count, and the spread, and even the missile turret up here. Like, nothing's really gonna get through that. Oh, he really doesn't want to deal with mutas on this natural. And there's not much Crowbar can do. He's not gonna hit some type of timing with 2-2 and, you know, a maxed out Baneling force, which can still be effective. I mean, it's kind of like a Heart of the Swarm thing. Legacy of the Void's more about that hive, right? But it can still do well if you know, if everything lined up correctly for it. In this game, it did not. Crowbar even a little bit supply block. Now his overload's just popped. So he's really not in a situation where he can take a fight. and he does want to hold off on it, like stop Beastyqt from pushing out with this with almost max force. Maybe a link counter attack. He does have a couple of banelings set up, but the Sun's Tower is really ruining his plan here, as well as the supply depot wall. I like this one so much better than what the other Terrans are doing with the diagonal one. But one good news for Crowbar is that his creep spread was pretty decent, so that'll buy him some time to try and get maxed out. Unfortunately, his supply really is just not looking too good. Has a little bit of a back attack, but unfortunately of banelings into tanks, so that's not ideal. Actually, what would have been ideal would be Ling surrounding the Marines that were up front and then getting the banelings hitting them. But now as the tanks roll forward and Beastyqt, of course, will be on top of his splitting, I am quite worried for Crowbar. He does have his little counterattack going in here. Has to go way around, ends up busting into the bunker, and there aren't quite enough Marines to deal with it, but honestly, it's only like 5 Lings. Hopefully Beastyqt doesn't take too much damage from it. There we go, finally starting to lose some SCVs. No split on the Marines means these banelings get some really nice hits. And there's only so many Marines left over. If there were more mutas, they could probably clean this up. And unfortunately, Liberator's adding a lot of splash damage. There were still Marines on the ground, and most of the mutas do die here. There's still not a lot of anti-air, so maybe the medevacs are going down too to the Corruptors. But all of the tanks still alive. More Marines are rallying in, stopping those Lings and mutas from taking out the rest of the tanks. And that's that. That was weird.
Just sitting here watching that towards the end. I was up and doing no stuff for the first half. I have no idea how it opened, but that was like, I don't know. That push at the end, though. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I was thinking that's weird because it brought me like almost like I was watching a replay. You know, like because it had like the loading screen.
Oh. Okay,
and it like loaded, and I was like, what was that? I definitely wasn't watching a replay.
I don't know about that.
Well.
Well, game number 1 out of the way. Now, of course, everything today should be best of 3s, including the finals, which are not necessarily the finals. I'm feeling a little bit better, but we'll see how this keeps up. For those who don't know, top 2 today are going to qualify. But I see a really cool matchup, actually. I know we wanted to follow versus Beastyqt, but I have a potential alternate suggestion.
Oh, wow. Brackets. I see what you're looking at.
What am I looking at here, Zombie Girl?
Wemba versus Lilikanine.
Well, but also because that leads into what is possibly Botvidic versus Welmu as well. Mm-hmm. But Welmu Lilikanine is that rematch game. I don't know. We'll see how things time out. Dust Towers for map number 2. Let me just grab the intro from this. From this? 1 second here, either way. XSplit's not responding. And that's not a good sign. I wish I knew what caused this, because it's forcing me to hit like Control-Alt-Delete, not because like I'm trying to end task it, but like it like refreshes the screen or something, I guess. I don't know, but
well, you ready now?
Nope.
No.
There we go.
Yeah.
Alright, now I'm good, yeah. Sorry, it took a couple of Taskarinos there. I'm not sure what causes that. Like, is it just high disk usage or anyways, Dust Towers. We'll see you guys here in a sec. Alright folks, welcome back to game number 2. Now I'm gonna try and chime in on the cast. We'll see how long this keeps up for, but in the top right side of Dust Towers we got the light blue Terran. It's Beastyqt.
In the bottom left as the red Zerg, it is Crowbar.
Alright, so Crowbar, I will say, it didn't do too terribly that last game. When I sat back down, it was right around when the tank drops were going off, and I kind of thought those were going to get out of hand. But lo and behold, messy cleanup, but a cleanup nonetheless.
Oh, the one tank drop?
The singular tank drop, my bad.
Yeah, but that was what started, I think, the downfall of Crowbar. So besides the attack actually doing any damage at all, so that's, you know, killing queens, lings, forcing lings instead of drones, like all of that, it's also just messing up, you know, basically anyone. I mean, it's, I guess StarCraft 2, people say that it's the game of whoever makes the fewer mistakes. And if Crowbar was at all, like, you know, caught off guard or messed up his macro, got supply blocked, wasn't droning because he was focusing so much on the micro, like any of that, then that really messes you up, especially versus someone as good as Beastyqt.
Yeah, and I guess that's where some emphasis needs to go. I don't know if you really talked about last game. Beasty's a good player. We all know that. He showed up in a lot of our cups. Hasn't really got crazy results, but he has been playing a lot of random recently, and more importantly, streaming like random to GM type thing. And what I really appreciate out of that is the same thing we saw out of, excuse me, Jockshi and some others back in the day, where they had a way better understanding of the other matchups because they had played them from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if this is something BC's always done, and maybe this isn't something to make a big deal of, but I think it's really cool. If you can hit GM as random, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it certainly helps to play the other races, and some people like very like intently do so, and some people actually just say like, oh, I'm good enough just learning from my own perspective, but watching the replays of my opponent's perspective.
There are some really good players that have come and gone from StarCraft that know nothing about Terran or Protoss.
Yep, yeah, for sure. I gotta say, like, I don't know if it's because this is only like the third day back casting after like 2 weeks of not, but solo casting felt really weird. Like,
you know what?
Usually.
You missed me. It's okay. You can admit it. No one's gonna make fun of you.
Sure. I don't know what it felt really weird.
Me too.
I think it was more
so
because
hard.
like, yeah, because I miss you, yeah, of course, but also because I was so caught off guard because you were here, but then you were like, you're gonna solo cast anyways. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I was all prepared. I was like gonna get like the TING stuff downloaded and set up on OBS and.
Yeah, that's my bad. So for those who don't know the story, I like literally just woke up and I rolled out of bed and I realized how close to the edge I was and like just smashed my face into my dresser. Like it sucked. So, kind of got a bit preoccupied with that. I probably should have got on Skype first and been like, hey, so by the way, we spend the next half hour like delicately dabbing my nose with cotton and putting a Band-Aid on.
You think you broke it?
I don't think I broke it. No, it's got a gash in it though.
Ew.
I'm just hoping that doesn't heal too poorly.
Ew. Well, it's gonna be a cool scar.
Yeah,
Chicks dig
I'd be okay with a scar. I could dig a scar.
I like scars. I wish I had cooler scars. I was like the tiny one on top of my eyebrow.
I got these really shitty ones on the side of my tummy from when I fought that mountain bear one time.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people say they look like stretch marks, but they're claw marks, guys, from that battle I had. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Okay, so we do have a bit of a push. The Hellion and two Hellions and a Reaper's nothing too crazy, but if undefended, if the Queens aren't at the ramp, they just run up, get drone kills. It's actually really sick. So we got more Hellions joining in. We got that Liberator follow-up too. BC's gonna have an actual push, but he does realize like, okay, there's nowhere to really squeeze into right here. That donation noise got me a little off guard. We haven't had a donation actually since we got back, so shout out to the thing on Rifkin's face.
Oh,
maybe you're talking about the Band-Aid now. I'll get to that afterwards, my good friend, but thank you, nonetheless.
Yeah. So we do have an armory on the way, and I was wondering if we were going to see that, because, I mean, it was Hellions, basically, right? Like, whenever there's Hellions out in the field, it's always like, okay, are you doing this because maybe using them as they were originally intended, which, you clean up a little bit of creep spread, maybe a little bit of pressure, force out a couple of lings, or is it because you're going to do a Hellbound attack? This Hellbound attack, though, it is later. You can actually start the armory as soon as, I mean, basically finish it when you only have 4 Hellions, and then rally the rest over, and it's like a smaller one, but it hits a lot sooner.
So this is where I get a little bit jaded for this, though, because personally, just watching a lot of the players, I'm not good at pulling off this maneuver myself, so this doesn't come from personal experience, but I think from every time we've cast it, it looks way better when that Hellbat push hits first, especially with the medevac, because it takes out the Queens, and that lets the Banshee or the Liberators or whatever really just reign supreme behind it.
Yeah.
Trying to
and
do
that
like,
is...
the Liberator first, as we see, is not accomplishing much.
I guess,
It does actually draw the Queens out of position.
Well, see, the Queen's out of position, then I would say, like, go for the Hellion run by, actually. But, they're gonna be able to hopefully walk down. Actually, 2 of them died, and almost died, so... I don't know. But I think what was more powerful than just that Liberator is waiting for so long, because not only are more Hellbats, but it's also a time where, like, okay, it's X timing. I've gotta mark off the Hellbat timing. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So he just made 15 drones, and there's a big Hellbat attack.
But
unfortunately, they walked right into Banelings. There's not enough Banelings to kill all of them. So
none. All the Liberators have to do is set up on the ramp. I believe it will.
Behind this, Beastyqt went for 2 more starports, so he was. I mean, this is the thing to do, I suppose. This Hellbat attack.
Yeah, we know which direction this was going. I love transforming to Hellions. We talk about this all the frickin' time, and I think this is such a great move to chase down those pesky drones.
Yeah, especially because there are only lings available, which is a good guess on Dusk Towers, but also Crowbar did it last game, and that's it for Crowbar.
All right, well, GG. Congratulations to Beastyqt. So advance on to the brackets. That donation, by the way, $5 says, "Why is there blood all over me again?" So funny enough, I was actually really. It wasn't like, okay, so you guess like this isn't like when you break your nose, because I've seen, like, I've never had my own nose broken, but I've got friends who've gotten in fights and stuff, and most of that blood comes from like inside the nose. Like that's not blood from the outside gushing through your face. So when I like gashed my nose here, oh, that's really tender. It wasn't like spouting blood. It's just like any other cut you get. Like, yeah, there's blood and it's just kind of welling up on the surface, but like,
Yep.
So I didn't exactly have this stream of blood, and my mustache is like soaked, and like I've suddenly now got red hair, but not because I wanted it to be, like that sort of thing.
Ew.
I actually have pretty red hair for my beard and mustache, anyways.
So do we want to wait on Wellmo versus Lily Canine?
One sec. I'm plugging and unplugging things, and I might break something. You pick. Where the hell is my webcam on?
Problem with waiting for Lily Canine is that I do believe he's facing a Zerg right now.
Well, we can always grab the other half of that. Botvinnik was the one I was looking at more so than one with Lily Canine, but that one's worth waiting for, maybe. Hang on one sec. Is this working? Yeah, there we go. I mean, I don't have too much preference what we cast next. I just thought it was a cool one to notice on the brackets was all.
Well, a laser isn't out of game either, so we'll be waiting either way.
So we're playing chicken, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. I'm gonna just take us to a break then, guys, to find out what we're doing next. So we'll play some Ting ads here really quick, and then get to our just like a Twitch break, and we'll see you guys in a moment. We'll go. We did plenty of Kyra's tips yesterday, and Kyra's freaking adorable. So let me load one of those up. Okay, this one's called Reddit Offline. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.